Hi, Marbs here, and today let's talk rhythm guitars. Rhythm guitars, you say? Yes, rhythm games on Xbox seem to be getting a little bit of a resurgence. Now, why should I say that? Well, engagement on Fortnite Festival is said to be at around 2 million players per day, and obviously some of those players are on Xbox. Because why else would PDP introduce a brand new guitar for the Xbox? But now we have a second guitar that's brand new. Yes, my friends, this is the Gibson Cracked Berry Burst Pro Edition Les Paul for Xbox. Now, saying this guitar for Xbox is like saying that it can't do other consoles. Actually, this guitar has a few tricks up its sleeve that make it so that if you could connect to it, you could probably use this guitar with it. Now, it has Bluetooth connectivity as well as a dongle that is used for wireless connectivity on Xbox, but you can plug it in as well. Now, the important thing to know is that at least in the console space on Xbox, right now, the game Fortnite Festival is the primary use model for this guitar, at least in the Xbox console space. Well, Rock Band 4 does work with this guitar. It is unfortunately in the process of being delisted. And unless you have the disc or you have some other way of getting your games and your songs, you're not going to really be able to add anything. And I'm not sure that really you're going to be able to do much other than play it locally, which for a lot of people is just fine. Now, we're going to focus on the console space and what we can do with this brand new guitar. Now, first of all, I should point out that there is a lower priced version of the guitar. It's called the Tribal Edition. Now, it's an all black version of the guitar. It is not the same as this, however. This is the pro level guitar. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means it has the mechanical frets that are included, the Hall Effect strum bar, the 2.4 gigahertz wireless, and the ultra fast wired connection, and obviously the navigation hub button, and obviously the RGB show mode, which is really cool because it lights up. So what I can say to you about this guitar is that it is definitely something different, but we'll talk more about that when we bring back Godzilla Logic so she could share her thoughts about the guitar itself. But first, let's unbox it and talk about what's inside the box. Now, first off, you should know that I paid for this guitar. It was not a promo from Cracked, and I ordered it from the Cracked store, although I have the link in my description where you can order it from Amazon, and I'm assuming that you can also still order it from the Cracked store as well. Now, you will definitely need an Android or an iPhone to set up the Cracked guitar. The guitar itself uses a sleeve over the outer box. Now, the sleeve, as you can see here, is colorful and it has all the details on the back of the guitar. But obviously, as we've seen with many releases of products, it's made to be multi-platform. Now, the box itself is corrugated and it does a pretty good job of protecting the guitar, I would say. The guitar does come with a QR code in the top of the box here. The QR code will help you get the app and start getting the guitar set up. Now, let's talk about what you get in the box. First off, I did get 2 straps with the box. Now, the straps are kind of interesting, and I still have this one mounted on the guitar, because the straps, you only normally get 1, but as part of the Cracked promo for the guitar, you get 2. Now, this is the base, or the body, I guess you would say, of the guitar. Now, one thing I did notice is that the photos did look, the finish on the guitar looked a lot more glossy. And if you look very closely, it appears that they use an adhesive sticker. Now, I hate to use the word sticker because it's obvious that it's a much quality vinyl than just a sticker that they're using for this. Now, I've heard rumors that there's going to be options to replace this and customize this through Cracked, so we'll see more of that later. Now, the whammy bar here comes with a piece that secures it for shipping. I gotta admit that it was a little difficult to get out. I used a pair of needle nose pliers. I don't know if that's the recommended way of doing it, but that's how I did it. Now we'll get back to the body of the guitar in just a second. Let's talk about the neck for a minute. Now, the neck is interesting because this is where we talk about these new buttons. Now, these buttons have a space between the buttons, and Godzilla Logic will explain a little bit more about that and the significance of it. But it is different, and the buttons are configured different from what we saw on the Riffmaster, where the buttons are end to end. Now, the fret, it is replaceable. So if you did break it, you could replace it, or if you'd like to use the other one, which has a different kind of switches in it. Now, these are more of your electromechanical switches, and they have a much different feel than the other switches. Now, you can see here that unlike the Riffmaster, the neck connects right to the body, and once the neck is connected to the body of the guitar, it connects in a fashion that is very secure, and I didn't see any issues with that whatsoever. Now, one thing that is really cool here is that you do have the lighting on the guitar. Now, the RGB lighting is definitely for the pro level guitars. In addition, under here you have your wireless dongle, and it is secure. I mean, it's not going to fall out, but the wireless dongle itself is what you would use to connect it wirelessly on your Xbox. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is the battery compartment. Yes, that's right, battery compartment. You have the ability, that's right, to change the battery in this guitar so that you can use the battery and then change it if it becomes discharged. So you could actually have one on standby if you like. Now, the guitar itself has the joystick knob here to move around, plus the 9-way switch. Now, you're going to hear more about this and how it works, but the brief explanation is by switching this mode, it will put the guitar into different modes. We'll talk more about that when we talk about the guitar. In addition, we have the functionality switch, which is really great with the keys around the outside. Now, flipping over to the other side, you do have the multi-button here, which is like another type of a stick that you can move around directionally to drive and navigate the guitar. In addition to all of this in the box, you get a nice long USB A-C cable and a nice cracked pin that's pretty cool. You know, showing that you're part of the Les Paul guitar army on Cracked. Now, it does come with a manual. The manual, I will say, is pretty much look at the QR code and scan it into the app, and then we'll proceed from there. So, honestly, that's what's in the box. I think it's well protected, and I think it comes in the box well. The construction does appear to be good. I will say that I was a little disappointed that this wasn't more glossy, but, you know, I guess overall, though, I'm still impressed with it as far as the construction. So now, let's get to the functionality and bring in our expert Godzilla Logic so she can tell you all about the good stuff. So Godzilla Logic, obviously our focus is Xbox here, but as you've mentioned, it's multi-platform compatible with the Switch on the side here. Mm-hmm. But right now today on Xbox, really there's only two apps, which is Rock Band 4 and Fortnite Festival. Now, we've heard the unfortunate news that Rock Band 4 is going away, but it is compatible with Rock Band 4. However, obviously the calibration is an issue. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we can talk about it. So, you know, you'll see here, I've got this flashing because I hit this button, but that's okay, we can show it. So this button right here, you can see your Xbox logo. If you press this, it kind of turns it off or on. We'll turn it back off here. But then you've got these modes. You can't see it real close, but there's 9 different switches that you can kind of go through numbers here. And the explanation in the manual from Cracked is a little scant. It doesn't give you a whole lot of detail, but what it does say, one is the standard mode, One means that when you connect this to an Xbox, Xbox recognizes it as an Xbox controller. So that's to say that you've got this D-pad switch here, kind of omnidirectional. You've got A, there's a B button, X, Y, and then you've got your left and right bumpers, left and right triggers. So these buttons will actually, you can navigate whole Xbox console menus with this if you wanted to. Between you and me, I don't know why you'd want to. It's a little strange and unintuitive.
Sure.
Because it's like when you're going down or up, it's based on the geographic axis for which this is facing. So down is right and up is left. It's a little weird. But what you have to do in order to get this to interface, this is true with Rock Band 4. It's true with Fortnite Festival. You have to figure out which of these modes you put it in, but then you also have to have first launched the game, right? So like a lot of the time, if you're at the Xbox home page and you're trying to launch the game, it needs to be in mode 1. Then you go into your game and you switch it to, like, say, mode 2, 3, 4, etc. There's only so many of these. If I recall correctly, 2 is the general. Fortnite will recognize this. 3 and 4, I think, were meant to be intended for higher levels of Fortnite play. Like if you want to go on like hard or expert, I think they're meant to have additional configurations you can build. My experience was that 2 worked fine with Fortnite Festival. We did actually, unlike the Riftmaster, test this with Fortnite Festival. The additional ones in here, you can put custom configuration builds, like button mappings.
Right.
You can put them in the crkd app.
Right.
And then I should mention that there on the back of this is a D-pad that has 4 switches, up, down, left, right. You can use that to navigate menus as well. But to answer your question, because you said, talk about the configuration, it really sucks. Like, there's no nice way to say it.
Well, I mean, when we tried to get it working with Fortnite Festival, it took us over 20 minutes to get it perfected, to get it to working. Now, with Rock Band 4, the calibration was more the problem, not so much the actual usage of the guitar. The guitar seemed to work fine, but getting the guitar calibrated. Now, you had mentioned to me...
Yeah, there's a mode on here that they call Legacy Mode, and once you switch it to that number, which, by the way, is not, at least in the documentation manual that came in this box, was not particularly clear. It had documentation for other platforms. It did not have Xbox documentation, so you remember we had to Google it.
Correct.
We had to look on YouTube, we had to find other things, but once you put it in Legacy Mode, Rock Band 4 would recognize it. It was fine. But what
the
you're talking
calibration
about the delay. So
Yeah.
that would be the audio and video delay. That's not so much a problem unique to this guitar. That's more a problem that comes with a lot of these older rhythm games. They were written before 4K television, before what we actually know now is HD. That was when 60 hertz 1080p was the pinnacle of what could be done. So, you know, that was the thing we ran into with both this and the Riftmaster with Rock Band 4 is that you cannot, in fact, use the auto config, which is where you listen for the sound, click the strum bar. It doesn't do anything. It essentially doesn't function. So you have to manually go in, configure your settings, and it's going to be different. Totally fine-tune what you want based on what your television model is, based on what its panel specifications are in terms of the speeds it can do.
But here's the thing, though. When we tried it with Fortnite Festival, and we eventually got the guitar working, calibration was a breeze, and it was spot on the first time. I mean, and that's because you'd said it's more of a modern game. I mean, that's just the facts, right?
Right. I mean, I would agree with that. And that's my hope. Is, you know, kind of hearkening back to what we talked about earlier. If they are in fact working on a new rhythm music game, my hope would be that they take that same kind of universal plug and play for this generation, and that'll make that so that you essentially have the chance to play Guitar Hero or something like it again without having to go through and configure a whole ton of lag.
You know, the thing that really interests me right now with this, though, is that how good of a guitar is this? Where do you spot this guitar versus, you know, the thing? Now, I'm saying it is a pro version of the guitar. Does everybody need this guitar, or can they get by with the tribal?
So that's a good question. And I feel like in order to answer that question, I'm going to kind of take you down a slightly different path in terms of analogies. So I have not had the chance yet to play with the regular neck regular guitar from Cracked. It'd be cool if we could. Hey, Cracked, if you're watching this, would love one. But shameless self-promotions notwithstanding, what I can tell you about this experience as opposed to the Riffmaster, this is, in my mind, as somebody who played a lot of Guitar Hero growing, up and, back when it was still popular, this is a Guitar Hero controller. And anybody who's played a bunch of Guitar Hero will know exactly what I'm talking about, because historically there's always been a notable difference between Guitar Hero controllers and Rock Band controllers. Rock Band always had kind of the mushier strum bar. Rock Band had buttons that were shaped more like guitar frets.
Right.
Whereas this is just a button. It's very clearly not an actual guitar fret. It's a
Right,
button
no,
on a
of course
guitar
not, but-
controller. And it has that more clickier, haptic style strum action. This is what I like. That's my preference. It doesn't mean that it's better. For me, it's the better choice. And what I can tell you is, combining the strumming action of this with the button placement and action compared to what my experience was with the Riffmaster, I like this one better.
Now, is this more about feel? Because I keep hearing you use the word feel over and over again when we talk about this, and does feel equal performance? It doesn't really? Godzilla, I mean...
I would say it does, and this is going to get like real hippy-dippy real fast here. So imagine it, because I know that like in your youth you played, guitars and keyboards
Sure.
and did some band stuff here
Sure.
and there. And I did too. So just like a guitar, you can choose different guitar strings.
Sure.
They're thicker or thinner. They have a kind of a tactile feel to them. Does it mean that one's better than another? Not really. You'll have a bunch of people who in the comments of this video might have opinions about that, but in my opinion, it's preference, right? And so for me, when I'm talking about the feel of this, we talked about the button placement, the spacing between the buttons, the feel of something that resembles a click, to get that little bit of feedback rather than just, well, my finger moved, was it enough to trigger the strum sensor? I don't know. That's what I don't like about a mushier strum bar. So for me, these kinds of feel mechanics, for lack of better phrasing, they help me to perform better when I'm playing music-based games.
Now, I got to ask the question. A few months ago, we looked at the Taiko no Tetsujin drum.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things you said to me, you said, Marbs, I like it, it's fun, but, if you're going to spend this kind of money, is it going to get enough playtime? I guess my question is now they say that Fortnite Festival has over 2 million engagement per day. I mean, is this going to be popular enough that I should invest in a real guitar?
That's a good question. And so I think for me, again, speaking personally, this guitar experience with the Cracked guitar controller, this has been positive enough and more than fun enough. That I know I joked with you that I'm like, I'm out of retirement. I'm back. I spent 3 hours playing this at home.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, I will say.
Right.
Godzilla.
So to me, I'm actually really excited once we figured out how to make Fortnite Festival work.
Right.
I'm excited to play in Fortnite Festival, and kind of compare my skills against this newer
Because
generation of people.
that is the real
Right.
truth here, isn't it?
Right.
Really?
And
Because
also,
it is the only really, on console anyway, for
It is.
Xbox, it's the only real experience at this time.
Yeah, it is. And so the other thing, I have not yet started exploring, this will connect to PC, so at some point I'm probably going to play around with connecting this to PC. Maybe I'll download something like Clone Hero. Maybe I'll check out, there are some Guitar Hero games you can download for PC. I know that there's one, the name of it's escaping me right now, but it essentially, the initial port of Guitar Hero to PC was terrible.
Yeah,
it was
right.
really, really, really bad. There's a version that was a community creation that essentially got the developer seal of approval.
Yeah.
And the developer said, this is great, download this patch, because this fixes all the stuff that we got wrong.
Now, here's the thing, I guess, that I'm very interested in on the go forward for this. It is very interesting with Fortnite Festival, but there is hope for another app. But you told me that the pass may be possible too. there is an adapter that will allow us to access the 360 games with this?
There is, and the name of it is escaping me right now.
But we're going to pick one up, and we are going to investigate that.
Yeah,
yes,
so
in an
suffice to say,
upcoming video.
if you look up, if you Google, USB dongle, USB adapter, cracked guitar, Xbox 360, you can do any kinds of searching like that. There is a USB adapter. It's $14. I mean, it's cheap.
Wow.
And people have tested it, and it will let you connect this directly to an Xbox 360. And for anybody who's old enough to remember, Xbox 360 in its heyday was the premier platform for music rhythm games. All of the Guitar Hero games were the best on 360 Xbox, because they were written primarily for 360. So I'm really excited.
So I guess the question is, Godzilla Logic, and wrap this up. Tell us what your final recommendation is. Is this a buy or a pass?
So for me, unequivocally, this is a buy. There are things about it that I don't love. I know we had some offline conversations about this finish, about, the lack of glossy. They're going to have a sticker thing for that, which at the end of the day, that'll prevent me from scratching this piece up. And, while it bums me out to have to spend another $10, $15. It feels a little microtransaction-y. I still like this. I still think that for the buck, if you said to me, hey, Godzilla Logic, I'm going to buy a Guitar Hero controller, and I only want to buy one, do I buy the Riffmaster, or do I buy, one of these cracked guitar controllers? I think my recommendation unequivocally would be get a cracked controller, because no matter which one you get, you can then buy the other neck, you can buy the other body. There are things you can do to basically have options and find the best way to play for you without having to go into, I know we talked in the Riffmaster video about there's a massive modding community.
Sure.
But you don't have to do that if you get this.
And they're all new components. It's
Correct.
not any recycled components.
Nope.
It's all brand new stuff.
And it's not anything somebody built in their garage to try and best serve your needs. This is a consumer offering.
Yes, it sure is. And probably, so far, I would say, hesitant to say that one of the best consumer offerings in a guitar so far.
I mean, for me it is.
For a large quantity, anyway.
Yeah, for me it is. The things that I would say are detractors for me with this, we did, in testing, have some minor connectivity issues with the wireless dongle. For anybody who's a hardcore Guitar Hero player, like especially if you're going to use this on, like, say, PC, doing crazy, like, double, triple speed playthroughs in Clone Hero, you're not going to use the wireless dongle. You're going to connect it via the USB cable.
Sure, you want the fastest possible speed.
Right, but for an average person, it's kind of irritating to have your guitar drop out. I also noticed if we were in menus and I would switch, through a setting like this, it resets the controller so that it turns it off. And there were times that we would be trying to navigate a menu and you'd switch it going, oh, is this where I turn it to guitar mode rather than controller mode? And it was a little touch and go. You had to kind of figure out what works the best, what's going to do what I needed to do.
It was kind of wonky there, but it is firmware updatable from the Cracked app, so that obviously you could update the firmware if you wanted to.
Correct.
And that definitely, they're going to improve this. I really feel that
they will.
Since they're involved in the development of this new rhythm game, I think that they're definitely going to be really active in trying to make the cracked guitar the best of the lot.
I think so. And for me, I remember we talked when this was coming out, and you said, well, which one do you think I should get? And I looked at the specs, and I came back to you and said, spend the money and get the Pro Controller. And you said, well, does it really make a difference? And my response to you was, if it has mechanical fret buttons, and if it has a Hall effect strum bar, in theory, this is the last purchase you'll ever make for a rhythm-based guitar controller. And I'm happy to say that after spending quite a few hours with this, and going back and spending more time with the Riffmaster, I mean, I feel pretty good about my recommendation. I don't think this thing is going to break down anytime in the near future.
Well, that's good. Well, you can order it from Amazon. There's a link that you can use and order it from the link in the description. The channel gets a small commission, and it's a great way to support the channel if you decide that you want to buy one. My name's Marbs, and this is Godzilla Logic, and we'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch the cracked guitar video. We'll see you in the next one. Bye now.